western states. This was the 1,000-mile buckle, they call it, for my 10th finish.
That's Tom Green. These are a few of the buckles he's earned over the decades of running ultras. But these aren't just souvenirs, they're proof of something deeper. Mile after mile, race after race, year after year. Every sport has its pioneers, the ones who blaze the path before there's a map. In ultra running, that's Tom Green. In 1986, he became the first person to ever finish the Grand Slam of ultra running, and he never stopped. Hundreds of races, thousands of miles, one relentless spirit. They call him the grandfather of ultra running, and today we sit down with the man who paved the trail. Well, Tom, thank you so much for meeting with me. This is a huge honor for me to sit down with you. I actually, you probably don't remember it all, but I remember you from about 10 years ago, and I was running with the Striders.
Gosh.
And, here comes this gentleman on the trail, on the paths around here, and you're pushing your cart.
Okay.
And someone said, oh, there goes Tom, and I'm new to running. I'm new to the ultra world. I actually hadn't even run an ultra at that point. And I was like, I don't know who Tom is. So, I mean, you're a legend, and I know that now, so I don't know if you want to give yourself any kind of an intro or.
No, other than legend might be taking it a little too far. I just prefer the word dinosaur.
Dinosaur. All right. Well, we'll talk about it some more, but I mean, you've been called some pretty high. You've got some high accolades to your name. So I guess let's just kind of go back to the beginning. You've been ultra running for a very long time. So where did you get your start? What got you into ultra running to begin with?
I think the main driver was reading an article in I think it was Running Times magazine about the Old Dominion 100-mile run, and I was just fascinated with it. I had no idea that they had such a thing, and I was just instantly drawn to it. Maybe it was a flaw in my character, I don't know, but when you think of something grand like that, it just wants me to give it a try.
Okay.
I had seen the Ironman triathlon on TV a few months prior to that. That was the year that Julie Moss collapsed just before the finish and had to crawl across. And at that point, I thought, that's what I want to do.
Okay.
But then I read the article about the 100-mile run, and since I was a runner mainly, that's the path that I took. I never did do a triathlon.
Okay.
And that was, over 40 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. So you were running what, like marathons or 10K? Did you run in college or?
Well, I ran all through high school. I ran into college, and then I got caught up in the citizen 10K races and ran those for many years, and then got up to marathons, and it still wasn't enough.
Okay. Yeah, I can relate. I kind of moved through that cycle as well. So just so that the audience knows, right? So you said over 40 years ago. I mean, when did you complete your first ultra marathon? Do you remember?
That was in 1983.
Okay.
I I ran a 50 mile. It was the Mountain Masochist in Lynchburg, Virginia, and without having much experience doing trail runs, I went up the wrong trail and I was lost for 4 hours.
Oh no.
And I finally found myself back to the start after 4 hours, and I still had 50 miles to go. But at that point, I figured I'd be at least disqualified or whatever. But when the acting race director found me walking up the road, he offered me the opportunity. He would take me to the 14-mile point and allow me to restart officially there. And I was 2 hours behind the last runner, I think, at that point. But I took him up on it, and I did manage to finish just under the cutoff. That was my first of 29 finishes at that race. If I had not taken him up on that offer and finished, I may never have done another ultra again. But he gave me the chance, and I'm glad I took it.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like I get discouraged if I get lost for a half an hour. So
Oh gosh, I had to hitchhike. I was sitting on the back of a utility trailer full of firewood until I finally got back to the start.
Yeah, so these early days of ultra running, I mean, it sounds like it was very rugged, right? Like today you've got super shoes and synthetic fibers and, people who have studied this stuff in labs and everything. I mean, you're just doing this just because it's what you want to do, right? Like,
yeah, it's definitely changed a lot. And nowadays, you probably would not find any race directors that would just ad lib on the rules and just give you a ride to it.
right.
But in my defense, I was directed up the wrong trail, as well as many other people, but they were smart enough to figure out that they were on the wrong trail and they turned back, but I just kept going.
Hey, sometimes you just see a trail and you go. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so, that was, you said 1983, and so, you must have advanced pretty quickly or been very dedicated, because I think the thing you're most famous for, not the only thing, but the most famous is that it was 1986, you finished the Grand Slam of ultra running. And so, for people who don't know, the Grand Slam is 4 of the oldest ultra marathons, 100-mile ultra marathons in the United States. So, Old Dominion 100, Western States 100, Leadville 100, and in one summer, right? Those are all within about 4 months of each other. Is that right?
Yes. I think Old Dominion was second weekend in June, and Wasatch was in September. Yes.
Okay. And so you were the very first person to do that. And I mean, only a few dozen people have ever done that since then, right? Fewer than one a year.
Actually, there's been, several, maybe 300.
Okay.
However, it's getting to be fewer and fewer people to do the original 4 because they are so hard to get into,
right?
With lotteries and stuff like that. So they have allowed substitutions for certain races in place if you can't get into Western States or Leadville.
Okay, right. Okay. Yeah. And so, I mean, what made you decide that you're going to go for this, right? Like, was because it wasn't called the Grand Slam then,
No,
right? So,
at that time there was only 400-mile trail runs in the country, and only one east of the Rockies. And I was only 1 for 3 at Old Dominion, and I was so disappointed with my performance there that I vowed that the next year I would not only come back and finish Old Dominion, but I'd do the other 3 as well.
okay.
So, I had only had one 100-mile finish before attempting the Grand Slam.
Okay. And so I mean, at the time, did you realize that you're setting a precedent for other people to follow and like a new title of
I
a
I never considered what other people would think. I just thought that it would be a nice summer challenge to do. I wasn't out to try to establish any kind of record or um, goal for anybody else. I just thought it would be a fun thing to try.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think you having seen you over the years, right? I think you maintain that. So I'm glad to see that you're still having fun and enjoying it, which I think is why you've been so successful at ultra running.
Well, I've never considered myself an elite runner. I might have fallen in the category of what some people might call pretty good, but never the elite level. And so I never ran specifically to try to win a race or anything like that. And so even after my accident and getting older and slowing down, it's still fun to just get out and do the best I can do.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that here soon. But before we get to your accident that you mentioned, I mean, you have tons of other, like I said, accolades to your name, not just doing the Grand Slam. I mean, other races that you've done, JFK 50, you did Trans Virginia, which I believe you actually
Yeah,
won.
yeah.
You've done Western States multiple times, Mount Mascus multiple times. I mean, so out of all of those events, I mean, what is your proudest achievement to you?
Oh gosh. Um, I yeah, I don't know whether to um, consider this my best achievement or best performance, but I think uh, one of the 24-hour runs that I did was what I would consider my best performance. But as far as being proud of anything in particular, I'd probably say it's some of the achievements in high school. It's really nothing to do with ultras, but I don't know.
That's unexpected. I mean, no, go ahead. You can talk about it. I mean, if there was something that, I mean, what made you really
Well,
proud about it?
that was my start in running, and I only took up running because my older brother, who was captain of the football team, talked me out of going out for football at 100 pounds. He knew I'd get killed, so I took up running, and uh, I was not good at all. I can still remember the embarrassment of coming in last in a lot of track races. But as I grew and I started to improve, and I guess it's probably safe to say that my senior year, the high school cross country team was the best ever to go through our high school. And I was just glad to be part of the team effort.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was an unexpected answer, but thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And right, so then you've said it a couple times, right? You never consider yourself the elite or the fastest or something, but you have been able to endure. I mean, even longer than many elites in the sport who, they flare up, they win a few Western states or something, and then they seem to go away. But you are still here and you're still running and still completing 100-mile races. So what do you think gives you this edge that allows you to keep running and keep going?
Well, I don't overtrain. A lot of people would think that I am rather undertrained, but in a way, I think it's I've been conservative on the joints. So, in fact, I can only recall running over 60 miles in 1 week, one time in my life, without a race. Obviously, if you run 100-miler, you've gone over 100 for the week. But in training, never more than 60.
Okay. And so you credit your longevity to just, I would say injury-free, but you haven't been injury-free.
Correct.
Yeah.
I've had my share of injuries along the way, but it's always disappointing when it sets you back to zero and you've got to restart.
Well, yeah, and so let's talk about that. So your hardest reset, right, in your life is this accident you had in 2015.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
If you find it of interest, yes.
Yeah, well, I'd like to hear maybe in your own words, right, about it, because this was a major reset. Like most people would never experience this type of accident in their life.
Yeah, it was kind of a freak accident. I got hit on the back side of my head by a falling tree limb, and I woke up in the hospital 3 weeks later, not knowing what happened, and I was just kind of incredulous, like how could that have happened, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, that's scary, and I'm sorry that happened. But you woke up, which we're all grateful for, and so you didn't stop running, which is interesting to me, right? So why you have this major life-changing event, and in 2017, 2 years after the accident, you complete another 100-mile race.
Yeah. Now, it was, 3 months. Well, first off, it took 6 weeks before I was able to walk 10 steps without being caught. And it took 3 months before I could walk a mile with a walker. And that took nearly an hour. So it took some work to finally get back up to longer distances.
Yeah, that's, again, like I said, it's incredible. I mean, the grand majority of people in this world are never even going to run a single 100-mile race, whether they're healthy or injured or whatever. And you managed to overcome this, to be able to do this 100-mile race. And like you said, I think you used a stroller for balance, so your balance hasn't been perfect.
What got me into the stroller was that first off, my sense of balance was just totally destroyed, and nowadays my sense of balance is primarily through my vision. So if I close my eyes, I can't walk. But I had been using a walker, you know, the little silver ones with the tennis ball on the front, and I graduated from that to the what a lot of people call the granny walkers with the 4 little wheels and the built-in seat. But I wanted to go faster, so I traded in the granny walker for a baby jogger. Once my legs were strong enough to support me, and that has worked to help me maintain my balance just by having a hand on the handle of the baby jogger. It alerts me whether I'm falling one way or the other.
Okay, yeah, right. And then I've seen you out on the trails. You have a kind of like a high beams, you know, strapped across your stroller, right?
Yes, because, like I say, my balance is through my vision. At nighttime, I'm at a disadvantage because if I can't see, I can't maintain my balance. So I look like a train coming down the tracks that I'm got so much light.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, that's incredible that you found a solution to overcome and be able to do these things. That's incredible. And so throughout all of this, right, your entire race career, for the most part, post college, right, you married your wife, Kay, and she's been your crew. So
Yes,
tell me a little bit about that.
I'm really dependent upon my wife, not only for driving and getting me to the race, but I have a tendency not to think of things that I need as far as food and drinks and stuff like that. So when I come into a cruise station, she pretty much already knows what I need to do. So she just
Yeah, but so what's that relationship mean to you, to have a life partner like that who's so supportive and helpful? And I mean, not just after your injury, but before your injury, right? She was.
Yes. Yeah, she didn't go to as many of the runs before my accident. She had a job that required her to be on call locally, but now, like I say, I would not be able to do a lot of these runs without her help. So, and she's not what most people would say. She's not a competitive runner herself, yet she has been willing to put up with, my life choice to do these runs. I've been running for over 60 years, so.
Yeah. So, I mean, now, you're 74 years old and you've been running for over 60 years. So, how has your relationship with running changed over that time? Were you competitive early on? Did you try to compete?
Yes, in high school, I was competitive. Yeah. Like I say, not the best, but always wanting to do my best, and I had some good years, but I've since learned that it's not all about winning. It's has more to do with setting your own personal goals based on your own abilities and trying your best to meet that. So before the accident, I was closer to the front, and since the accident, I'm now at the back of the pack. But the one thing that has not changed is that I can still do the best that I can do. It may not be much, but it drives me to try to do the best I can do.
Yeah. And yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? Like there's can only be one winner, but if you yourself have put in your best effort, then you're a winner to yourself.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah. And so, you know, throughout your history, right? At the beginning of this interview, I said you're a legend. I mean, you have actually been called, and these are quotes, grandfather of ultra running in, I think it was Trail Runner magazine or something like that. The original ultra runner. You know, there obviously have been a few people before you, but those are direct quotes. So you've given a lot to this community through all the years and all the running and the relationships you formed with race directors, doing races year after year after year. So, I mean, what does that mean to you? What does the ultra running community mean to you?
I'm humbled that they refer to me as that, some of those names, but in all honesty, there's been many other ultra runners ahead of me that have kind of blazed the path before I even got there. But it's nice to be included, you know, with some of those people. But I don't know if it really deserves that much attention.
Why? Why do you think that?
Well, everybody has differing abilities, and to try to lessen one person's performance merely for the fact that they're not as fast, you know, I hate to see that. I've always been a champion for the slower runners. They're trying just as hard as the ones that are up front, but oftentimes they even need more credit for hanging in there as long as they do.
Yeah, that adversity is something to be admired for sure. And so, you know, you're continuing to run, you're continuing to try to get your 100 miles every year or every decade?
Well, there is a runner who keeps track of what is called 100-mile longevity, and that is the length of time between a person's first 100-mile completion and their most recent. Mm-hmm. And so by completing 100-mile, that lengthens my longevity by another. Well, I haven't completed 100-mile now for over 2 years. The last one I was going to do was canceled because it was right in the middle of that Hurricane Helene flood damage. So right. The race was canceled and I didn't get a chance to complete. So I need to run one now to try to move farther back up on the 100-mile longevity list. It's a worldwide list, and I had made it up into as high as the top 20. So
wow.
But there's some that have been completing 100-milers for 4 or 5 years longer than I have.
That's not a lot of time, Tom.
Yeah.
You might outlast them all.
And they will consider finishes as slow as 48 hours, which allows for an overnight nap, you know, and just leisurely walking. And my last finish was closer to 30 hours, so I still have a little bit of cushion to hopefully finish for a few more years.
Yeah. And so, you know, relating back to earlier, and you said, okay, I thought it would just be neat to go out and run 100 miles in a summer. Is that what drives you to keep going for this longevity record, or?
Well, that's something fairly new. Maybe because the fella that has come up with that that list was actually ranked number one. So by creating the longevity list, it's a way of that he's brought some. I can't think of the words. That darn head injury. But he's brought it to public light that it's such a thing.
Okay. Yeah, and so reflecting back on all these years and reflecting back on you've volunteered with Striders, you've been doing these races. If you had to go back to whether it's your younger self or maybe it's a young ultra runner that you're talking to and they're just getting ready to do their very first ultra, what advice would you give them?
God, don't take it so seriously. I've seen so many runners, good runners, come and go. Their career in ultra running may only be 5 years. That sounds long for some people, but to me that's a flash in the pan. And there was another runner named Tom Green who was probably the top rated runner in the country, and he was only around for 3 or 4 years, it seems, winning every race, and then he just disappeared. And it's a shame. And a lot of better runners, as they get older and start to slow down, they will oftentimes exit the sport rather than just keep running for the fun of it, because they're typically in it to for the accolades and the awards and stuff like that.
I see. Yeah. Okay. And so, looking back, on your running and your life and your story, right? What is it that you would want people to take away from Tom, the ultra runner?
Oh gosh, I'm not sure. I might have to think about that.
Okay.
But,
well, some things that come to mind for me right now is just humility. Right, you're so humble and approachable. Right, I'm thinking back to Catoctin a few weeks ago. Right, and you've been doing this for years and years, and the race director gets up there and he goes, "This is Tom. He's been coming here forever, and has such a long history." And I'm in the back of the crowd at that point. I know who you are. I've seen you around. We've talked, and there's just so many people in the crowd that are just amazed. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And some of them went up and talked to you, I know, and so I think that's that approachability, that humility that you bring, where you have really done amazing things, and you don't toot your own horn,
Well, my horn isn't that loud, but I've always enjoyed running the Catoctin, and it was always one of my favorite races. And of course, after my accident, running those rocky trails became near impossible. But that's when Kevin Sayers, the race director, notified me that he's making a new, shorter race, the half Catoctin, and he included the list of requirements in order to qualify to run in it. You had to be over a certain age, you had to have been a veteran of the full 50K. And as I'm going down this entire list, it seemed like every qualification fit me perfectly. And then I find out that he basically created that shorter race for myself and another longtime runner that had a stroke. So,
Yeah.
so that we would still be able to participate.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. I mean, that's definitely something I get out of the ultra community. It's just how tight knit and small it is, while still being open and caring about
Yes.
everybody.
Yes.
So quick wrap up. Just first thing that comes to your mind, quick answers here, right? One ultra that you'd do again in a heartbeat.
Oh, jeez. I wish I could have continued running Old Dominion. I have 13 finishes there. Any of the Grand Slam races, the Wasatch, the Western States, that's a wonderful race, and I just feel so fortunate to have been able to get my 10 finishes there just before I had my accident. And obviously I could never do that again. And the Vermont 100, they just had that this weekend. That was my PR 100-mile race, and I just love that. And each race has its own unique flavor, and even things like Barkley, which I don't know if you've heard anything about the Barkley, but it's considered arguably the most difficult run of its kind in the country.
Yeah.
I never did do the Badwater race. The one year that I tried to get in was a year following a year layoff. I didn't run but about 5 miles a week. And when I tried to get in and they asked, well, what was your training mileage for the past year? And I said about 5 miles a week, they basically hung up on me.
No, no.
But I would have died in that race, 120 some degrees, and
Right.
so.
Yeah, that's not one for the faint of heart. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if I'd want to do it just because it gets so hot. So, you mentioned Barkley though. I did hear, it might be a rumor, but were you completed 2 loops of Barkley?
No, I've been to Barkley twice, and I've completed 1 loop each year. Since I was at the first Barkley, and I finished 1 loop, and I told the race director that I was quitting. He says, you can't quit, you're in first place. Well, I had no idea because I was lost all day. And I would have quit sooner, but I couldn't find my way back to the start. And but technically I would have been disqualified anyway, as was everybody else in the race. But he didn't have to disqualify anybody because everybody voluntarily quit first. So, but when he advertised that run, he did not give any indication how rough it was going to be.
Right.
We just expected a typical 50 mile. At that time, it was just 50 miles. And it was anything but that. It was just straight up the mountains through the briars and.
Yeah, that race has a infamous reputation, to say the least, right? So, what's a race you would never do again?
Barkley.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, there's no way. Well, obviously, I couldn't do it now, but I had to go back that second time just to convince myself that it was as bad as I remembered.
Mm.
So, but I'm really glad that there is a run like Barkley for those few people that really want the toughest run in the country, and so
Yeah, it is. There's, if anyone's interested, there's plenty of documentaries on Lazarus
yes.
Lake and
yeah,
his.
the race that eats its young
Yes.
is one slogan.
Yes.
Where dreams go to die.
Mm-hmm. Yes. What is your favorite post-race food?
Anything other than sweets,
Okay.
because I get so much of that during the run, and you just want something greasy and
Yeah, I can relate. And then what shoes or gear do you swear by? Like it's a must-have.
I've always had a hard time finding a pair of shoes that feels comfortable, because I had what was called a neuroma, which is kind of like a pinched nerve between the the is it the metatarsal bones in the foot. And I finally found that Hoka's made a pair that worked well for me, and I have just stayed with Hoka.
Okay, good. And what is one dream trail or race that you haven't run, but you would, if you could go back, younger self, whatever, right? You were capable of doing it. Which one would you do?
Oh, geez. I don't know, but I'm just so glad that I got to run all of the trail runs that I did before my accident. That's what I really enjoyed doing. But since my accident, I'm kind of condemned to fairly smooth trails, because in addition to my balance, my vision was rather impaired as well. Everything is off to the side, is double vision, and I can't focus very quickly on where my feet are going. So you put together imbalance issues and vision problems. I can't do trail, and that was what I really miss doing now.
Okay.
Any kind of trail. In fact, I did a trail run, mostly trail run yesterday, and because of the amount of rain that we've had, the trails were so overgrown and muddy, and I can't run on mud, because when I start slipping, I lose my balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I still had to use the stroller, and it was hard getting it through the bushes.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit a bee's nest, and I got stung 4 times. And I'm allergic to bee stings, and I didn't have my EpiPen, so I only made 2 miles in the race. I could have continued, but I would have passed by that yellow jacket's nest every 2 miles, and the thought of that just did not make it fun. So
Yeah.
I had to drop out. And 4 weeks ago at the Catoctin, I took several falls, and I believe I cracked a rib, but there's nothing that they can do about it. So I love running trails, but I just can't do it anymore, and that's what I really miss.
Okay. But you are very tough. I don't know how I would handle a cracked rib and continue to try to run. I don't know what I would do if I was stung and allergic to any kind of insect, or bee or whatever. And so that is amazing and astonishing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why, I started this with, like, to me, you're a legend. Like, I don't, you may not say so, but I cannot get over how you have done this all these years and continue to do it. So
well, I've lost so much because of my head injury, and running is one of the few things that I still want to try to maintain. Like I say, I'm typically at the very back of the pack, but it's still fun taking part, and I still meet a lot of people, and I've made a lot of friends. But and I have a streak of dead last finishing position in so many races. Although at Catoctin, after my fall and breaking a rib, I still managed to finish ahead of an 86-year-old. So
good. All right. Well, I'm glad to see you still laugh about these things and enjoy your running. So thank you so much, Tom, for this interview and for the time. I really appreciate it.
Enjoyed talking with you.
If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that interview with Tom as much as I did. I really encourage you guys to go read some of these articles. I'll have links down in the description below about Tom. He really is an amazing runner and an amazing person. Stick around for a little bit of bonus footage, and I hope you'll like and subscribe. See you on the next one.
Western States. This was the 1,000-mile buckle, they call it, for my 10th finish.
Wow.
So it took me 28 years to get 10 finishes. There's only been one runner in the country that's taken longer than 28 years to get his 10th finish.
But it's still, that still is amazing.
Then Old Dominion buckles. This one here is a 1,000-mile buckle for my 10th finish. So there's I'm the only runner that has 10-year finishes at both of these races. The significance of that is that they are held at about the same time of year at opposite ends of the country. One is the oldest 100, the other is the second oldest. And there's been, quite a few people to get 10 finishes at each of the race, but nobody has ever gotten 10 finishes at both, because you're either doing one or the other.
Right.
But what it ends up requiring is a very long career running these, or running each race just 2 or 3 weeks apart.
Oh, wow.
Which means that you're not going to get your best performance in either one.
Sure.
But it didn't stop me. I wasn't out to win them anyway. So.
Wow. Okay.
But that's basically what it is. Just like I say, they usually just get put away because I don't wear them. This is the last Leadville 100-mile, which ended up being the last 100-mile run that I did before my accident. But even back then I was finishing just barely under the cutoffs. In fact, my 10th finish at Western States, I was the last finisher for my 10th. And so that was good. But that's basically, it's just boxes of, in the end, it's just pieces of metal.
Well, they have to mean something to you, right? Or do they really not mean anything? And you're just glad to know you did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
they don't mean all that much to me. That's why I only wear the Old Dominion buckle, but I don't even think I've had that one on for years. But that one was special because it was my first, and they even let me in without me qualifying or anything. When I called the race director up after reading the article about the Old Dominion 100, I only had like 4 weeks, and he said, well, we'll let you in if is your training, are you running over 60 miles a week? And I said, oh yeah. I wasn't anywhere close to it, but he still let me in.
Okay.
And I made every mistake in the book, and I got lost. I tried to make up for lost time. I got dehydrated, and I only made 60 miles, and I had to drop, or they were going to pull me. And so it was after dropping that year, for the next year, it just kept eating on me. Things that I could have done to maybe finish. And I had to come back the next year, and I managed to finish.
Nice.
So
that's awesome. All right.